Hello and welcome. Today for C2S TV, we're absolutely delighted to have a guest from Hartpury University. So we're delighted to welcome Professor Stephen Draper, who is Academic Dean and leads for research and knowledge exchange at the university. Welcome, Stephen.
Hi, Angela, thanks for the invite.
So today really is to find out more about Hartpury and about the opportunities that businesses can engage with, and find out more about what they're doing, what that means to businesses. So Steve, do you want to tell us a little bit more about Hartpury University?
Yeah, thanks, Angela. Yeah, I mean, Hartpury, some of you may or may not have heard of Hartpury for various reasons. I guess that you may know us for equine or sport, or rugby in particular. But Hartpury is basically, it's a niche provider of further and higher education. You can study there all the way from A-level to PhD, but within niche areas. So we work in our specialisms of animal and agriculture, sport, equine and veterinary nursing. And we offer high quality, vocationally relevant courses to our students. We have about 4,500 students. And again, some of the businesses you may have had students as on placements or interns and working with you, and it's certainly one way we support the county. We're quite a new university. We became a university in 2018, but we have already been recognised for having elements of world-leading research at Hartpury. And we, I guess, whilst we're a young university, I mean, universities like to talk in strange language like knowledge exchange, but really knowledge exchange is how you work with non-academic partners, how you work with business and community, for example, to answer their questions. And Hartpury, you know, has always had commercial arms. It runs commercial equine facilities. It has a full commercial farm and other businesses on site. So it's always kind of been part of Hartpury's DNA, actually. It's always had that idea of business and recognises, I think, the importance of involving business in its educational provision.
And it's interesting you mentioned just there around the language from, you know, academics and perhaps a business language. And it's a really, really good point that you make, is that actually you help businesses in many different ways. And it's around problem solving, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I always think one of the barriers to businesses working with universities is trying to break through, well, trying to get to talk to people, the right people, and understanding that in the end, terms like knowledge exchange potentially quite unhelpful, actually. But really, you know, it's about having those conversations and working through, you know, it's about a relationship, and it's generally about a problem and how you might work collectively to solve those problems. So I couldn't agree more.
And that really, I mean, the evidence is when you bring together, you know, the business mind and the academic mind, and you work together on solving that problem, that is a really, really good collaboration, isn't it? And quite often brings really useful outcomes that are useful for businesses today, and that innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, often bringing those things together, you know, you find other markets and other areas, don't you? And I think that's the thing we particularly find being a specialist, you know, the amount of crossover, you know, into from equine to sport or from agriculture into equine, and suddenly, you know, businesses find not only there's some innovations they weren't aware in other areas, but also, you know, how well actually that would work in these other areas, and a lot of the tech crosses over, for example. So you're absolutely right. You know, it's about bringing creative people, and having different ideas in the room is often, you know, what it's all about.
And then, of course, you have the facility there because you're on 360 hectares.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, you know, Hartpury's greatest asset is its staff, but second, that really is it's an incredible environment. And, you know, we have some incredible facilities to support businesses. It's almost in our specialisms, the ideal test bed. I mean, I don't know where else you go. You know, we have a full commercial farm. There's something like 250 cows in our dairy farm. We have other livestock. We have arable test fields, etc. We have a sports academy, and you're probably aware of some of our sporting prowess, but there are 1,000 athletes in that academy who are, playing at a high level across our 10 academies in different sports. So we have normally around 250 horses on site, international equine arenas, equine treadmills, biomechanics labs. It's incredible facilities that, is an unbelievable test bed really for, testing ideas. And, we're very, very fortunate. And I say all in a kind of stunning 360-hectare rural campus with lakes and woods and
you can see it behind you there. That's Hartpury right behind you, isn't it?
That's right. That's the Hartpury House, which was the entirety of Hartpury. Back in post-war, that was all there was. A kind of was an agricultural college, and then became Hartpury College, and more latterly Hartpury University.
So tell us about some of the projects that you've been working on. So I know you've been doing something around sleep. I mean, sleep impacts all of us. So from a business point of view, yourself, your employees, that is something that impacts us all. And you've been doing some research around that, I believe.
Yeah, well, I guess you kind of hit the nail on the head for kind of what our research model is. We try to not do research for the sake of it. We try to do applied research that answers real problems. So we have a number within our academy, which I spoke of. We have a number of projects which I guess fall within, most of our research falls in the kind of performance and well-being area. And, with our athletes, for example, it's very important to us that their well-being is looked after and that they can perform to the highest level. So one area is sleep and sleep education. So we've got a PhD at the moment, which is looking at the kind of sleep patterns of our athletes and investigating how we might educate them better in terms of what impact that could have on them and their performance, but also how we might better support them in terms of how we timetable all those kind of things. So it's a real kind of real world issue which will impact people here, but also beyond, for us to share to other sporting or other organizations. Actually people sleeping well is a really important factor in terms of well-being. So that's just one area that we currently have some kind of PhDs working on within the academy. And I'd say the academy is this just ideal place to do that kind of work.
And if you look at the transference of that, I mean, anybody that's running shifts, that's night shifts, different shifts and everything, I think that's quite valuable information to understand how you could support your people in your business to perform their best at different times of the day. So that's just one good example. Have you got any other examples that you can share with us around some of the projects you're working on or been working on?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I think I often try to come up with some pithy summary of what our research is all about. And I say, it's applied, but it probably boils down to three things. It's performance, it's well-being, or if it's animals, it's welfare, probably sustainability. So those are kind of the three key areas. So there's some interesting work going on in agriculture around how we support farms, small farms, to meet kind of green targets and how we make that viable and support them in that process. We've got some really cool tech projects going on in soil sensors and vision learning in terms of how you monitor animal welfare through vision learning. So loads of really exciting kind of high-tech projects. There's a number of businesses based at our farm, at our digital innovation farm units, doing cool things from how you might use agri waste in lots of green ways to looking at use of drone technology. Within the sports academy, I mean, I don't want to pick on I'll pick on a few highlights, but I guess one interesting area is we're quite focused on women's sport in particular. Obviously Gloucester Hartpury is the currently top of the Premier League for women. It's like a top team in the country at the moment. So we're really passionate about how we support women's sport, and we're really aware how under-researched women's sport has been. I mean, it's really shameful to look at the amount of sports science research that really has only male participants. So we're doing some interesting work looking at menstrual cycle, impact that might have on training load, and some of those projects. In equine, we've got some great projects which are working across the industry, looking at welfare of the people that work within the industry. And we work with a number of trade organisations, Society of Master Saddlers, Master Loriners, supporting them in terms of researching for them, answering the questions they have, but also how we then bring that forward to educational programs, and how we support the next generations of saddlers and Loriners. So across the board, there's some really exciting work going on.
And I think, I've got first-hand experience of the educational programs you ran out and the type of young people you developed. My youngest daughter went through Hartpury, and I absolutely do believe that you do really produce really well-rounded individuals that come out with a really good attitude. And I think, although there might be some misunderstanding that you've got 4,500 students there, not all of them will go into equine, into agri, and into sport. A lot of those skills that they learn, they're very transferable into any business because they come out very rounded with a good attitude. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think you're entirely right. If you look at the university statistics, it probably is about 50% of the students stay within their specialism. But it's quite humbling actually to see the things they've gone on to do. Some of the companies they are working for, and like you say, some of them are no longer sport, equine, agriculture companies, but they are real household international names, and people are working in incredible places. But I think it is that kind of balance that there is that academic integrity, and make sure we produce real high quality graduates, but it's also vocationally relevant. And we go to a lot of lengths to, as an example, the first step for any programs that we validate, or when we review them after a number of years, is we start with an industry panel, and we try to get businesses in to say, like, what is it you need, and the graduates you employ, what is it you feel that's lacking from those firms. We try to work from day one. That's almost our starting point, is our industry panel to kickstart what we do.
Fantastic. And it's so, we've got this right on our doorstep, and I just think we're so lucky to have the facility that you've got there. And I think, getting more businesses involved, sharing the ideas that you've got, getting people to come down and have a look around Hartpury, because you're quite keen to kind of show off all the facilities and give people tours, etc. I think that's just got to be a good thing, because there seems to be a lot of opportunity, whether you want to tap into the talent, whether you want to be part of some problem solving, part of new innovations and innovative thinking. You seem to have a lot to offer. So I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us today and for giving us some insights into what opportunities there are at Hartpury University. And we do hope, if you would like to find out more, you definitely get involved with them, and it might be educating your children there, or it might be getting involved for the next big business ideas, or helping support with interview techniques, and creating the future talent pipeline. So thank you very much indeed, and a huge thank you to you, Stephen, as well. Thank you.
Many thanks. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.